It is time. It is time once again for the weekly closes on our favorite Bitcoin miners. But before we get going, check out the channel memberships. We've got some great stuff going on in there, especially at the stalagmite level where you get those real-time trade posts, and those members have been benefiting greatly from that this month. We've also got SodaStraw and Stalactite, where you're going to get the badges, the emojis, and if you're in Stalactite, you get those member shoutouts as well. We're going to do some of those today here in just a moment. Anyways, let's get going. Before we get into the meat of this thing, let's thank some channel members here. We've got Jimmy O'Grady, Wood Wealth, Jomon Thomas, Gumby's Fake. Thank you all so much for being members of the Trade Cave crew. Appreciate every single one of you, and let's get into the video. So Clean Spark here. All right, I know we're starting with Clean Spark. It's been a bit frustrating lately, this one here. So you might notice a couple of things different on the chart today. You can see this one. This is basically just an RSI. It's a little fancier than a regular RSI, but it's basically just an RSI. Nothing to really see here there. Down here we've got a MACD, and I just brought that up because it's crossing to the downside here, or it's about to cross to the downside. They're contacting each other there for Clean Spark on the weekly chart, which is some bad news bears. All right, so we're going to be going ahead and looking at those things there. I'm also going to point out that I've got the fib clouds back on here. If you've been here a while, you remember the fib clouds. We haven't looked at those in a while, but we're going to take a look at those as we're getting close to the end of the cycle. These are some areas that I like to use as targets. As you can see, sometimes it touches this cloud here, or in some cases goes deep into this cloud. It's like the last time we had the big run for the blow off top, it went into this cloud. And so that is why I'm bringing them up again right now, so we can look at them as areas that we can expect the blow off top to like creep into at some point in this cycle. So anyways, Clean Spark. So the week we were down 7.51%. That was pretty disgusting. I really was hoping that, we're going to see some lines. Come on. Really was hoping that we were going to get, since we were inside this volume gap right here, that we were going to continue to carry on up and go all the way to the top of it at $16, which would have been great for my warrants. But look where we came to. We came just to where that shelf, that shelf that was relieving pressure, sell pressure, we came right up to the top of it, and then we went right back down to the bottom of it, like almost instantly. Let me turn this off so you can see. Yeah, we went right back almost to the bottom of that shelf there. This part of here, which is really frustrating to see that happen. That largely happened in like 2 days this week, so that was really gross. What's this line? Does this say something? No. All right. I know what this is. This is where I was marking that I was expecting. This is where I was marking that I was expecting the global liquidity to start coming in negative and show us come down a little bit. Because, there we go. You can see, yeah, somewhere around here, right there where that was, boom, that's where I was expecting it to start coming down, and guess what? It did it immediately. I should have held on to that. I should have paid attention to that this week. Anyways, that's what happened there. Let's go ahead. So that's done actually, so I can delete this one, and we're expecting this line over here, remove them. This one over here, I believe, is where I was expecting the global liquidity to start picking up again. Let's go back to the daily real quick just so I can look at it. That is where I believe I was expecting, yeah, the global liquidity to start picking up again. Actually, I think that should be earlier than that. That's where I'm expecting the end of this thing, actually. That's where I'm expecting the peak to be, is around December 17th, due to this liquidity right here. And it works better on the Bitcoin chart than on here. Anyways, we'll go back to the weekly here. Sorry, that was a little tangent there. All right, here we go. So I am expecting Clean Spark to kind of perform poorly right now. Largely due to, let's bring this up, this is the MACD for the weekly, largely due to this cross down here. Now it's above the zero line, so I'm not expecting horrible things. Now, and it could be also like this, where we dipped down and then ripped right up out of it. But we're above the zero line on it, and I'm not expecting anything like this. I'm looking at like this area here from January. This was a 50% drop on the stock, and we'll look at that here in a second in January. But it did stay above the zero line, and it rocketed even higher afterwards. So I'm expecting something like that, maybe a cross down, maybe a revisit, 30-40% down, which if we were to measure that out, so we'll go to January, we'll look at that January one, which was right around here. Yeah, that cross down happened right here. That was a drop about 40%. Okay, that was a drop of about 40%. So if we were to do something similar right now with this cross down, right, about 40%, that would take us down to about $8 again, which would fall in line with the fact that we're going into August and September, which are generally the worst months of the year, maybe lingering into early October, where we then see that launch upward in October, which we got last year, right? See what happened here, right? End of July last year, came down, stayed down until first week of October, and then from the first week of October until the end of the year, basically until, well, late November, we were up 100%. So if we were to do that, we went from 8, if this comes down back down to 8 or whatever, that 100% move would take us back to about $17, which would also be the top of this inverted head and shoulders right here that we have right there. Boom. Top of that inverted head and shoulders. One more thing I wanted to point out is that we had a cup and handle right here, and I'll go down to like a 2-day so you can actually see the cup and handle. Yeah, we had a cup and handle right here. Here, I'll just draw it. We had a cup and handle right here, and that played out pretty much to its full extension. Let me get this. And it was to about right there-ish. Yeah, that played out basically to its full extension. So that's why we're seeing this flag now. And if this flag, when this flag breaks out, I would expect it to hit about $17 or $18 on CleanSpark. I did sell out on my CleanSpark warrants yesterday. Not all of them. I sold out half. I sold half of my CleanSpark warrants yesterday. Looking at some of this weakness in Bitcoin, expecting some weakness to come through, or at least some flatness, and we see some flatness on those types of stocks, like the underlying CleanSpark warrants are going to suffer. So I decided to get out of it. We had the cross down on Bitcoin. We'll look at that later. But I was expecting some kind of weakness for this week and next week, especially as it's matching up perfectly with the global liquidity coming down. So I got out of my CleanSpark warrants yesterday, and Stalagmite members got alerted to that right as it happened. I made a video where I talked about it on the channel, on the main channel as well. So everyone should be aware of that now. Anyways, so once we're really cooking here, yeah, I'm expecting us to hit at least $18 here by the end of the year. I would like to see a blow off top that takes us to 23, potentially even to 25 or 26 again. I'd really like to see that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that would be my upper level target. My lower level target right now is about $8. Honestly, maybe $8.50, maybe all the way down to $8.42. I feel like $8.42 would be like the lowest we would go in like a bad, like hits the fan sort of scenario. Maybe right here, like $8.72, where we bounce off this line one more time. If we don't bounce off this yellow line. Now this blue line, I believe that's done. If we go down to the daily, I believe that line is done. Yeah, this line is done. This line has been crossed. So now we are likely to come back down to the first line, at least, which would be about 944. I'd be expecting that here in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to watch that. I also got out because this top right here, this is a very distributory top. Is that even a word? It looks like a distribution top right there. And the fact that we opened and closed the candle completely detached from that distribution zone tells me that we want to dump down at least down to like 1078, maybe even down into the nines, if only briefly. That's what I'm expecting. And if I get that, I'm probably going to load up on some calls for CleanSpark. So that's what Stalagmite members will get alerted to that, and I'd be expecting a move to the top of this volume gap here. Okay. Let's move on to the warrants real quick. We'll look at the weeklies on the warrants. So this is dismal a little bit. Like, this is not great. So we're still barcoding in between here. We're barcoding. Now, what I did was timing the market, which is what you're not supposed to do. Okay, so I sold half. Sold half of about 37. It's already back up to 39. All right, so I missed that out on about $400 there because I sold out, or not $400, $300 because I sold 15,000 shares. Okay, timing the market, which always, honestly, often is a bad idea. All right, so yeah. Do with that what you will. So I decided to take some risk off the table because we've got we've got FOMC next week. We've got also the end of the tariff pause next week, and we don't really have enough deals in place yet. So that's going to get a bit rocky potentially. We could see some serious flashes down for a day or two. Okay, if FOMC appears more dovish, I'm going to be very, very wrong. If the tariffs, if we get some sudden midnight deals for tariffs, I'm going to be very, very, very wrong and on the wrong side of this thing. Those things are going to happen to me in that scenario. But that's why I only sold half and I kept the rest, so that if I am wrong, I at least get half of that upside that I was expecting. Okay, this is about capital management right now. I am managing my capital. I am managing my risk at this moment. And if I miss out on some up gains, on some gains because of it, so be it. It's part of the game. I understood that when I sold, that I could be missing out on some massive upside for half of the position, but protecting my capital at this point in the at this stage in the game was more important to me than making those extra gains. Okay, that's that explanation there for everybody. All right, that's what I was looking at. So Iren, actually entered a short on Iren yesterday. Why did I enter a short on Iren yesterday? This candle right here. You see this candle? This is disgusting. This is a disgusting toppy candle. It is gross. Now, I've said that a couple of times here as we've been going up. But remember, markets can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent, which is why I didn't short Iren until this candle. Okay? That's what I was waiting for, a candle like this. And if we look at this wick right here, just this wick on the weekly is almost 14%. If we just go down to about right there, we could drop to about 1556 just off of that wick there. Just from that wick, we could just wipe down to about 1556, which would be a $2 move, which would be a significant gain on the put that I bought. Okay, I bought one put. I just did one. It was small. It was like $200 worth. And if it drops to 1558, I should be making like 50-60% off that, and I'll probably close it there. Because while I do expect Iren to lead to the downside for this dip here and possibly come back down to 11, maybe even as low as $8 again, I'm not going to sit there and hold and wait to get wiped out to the upside when it decides to return. Okay, that's where I'm looking at here. But this was vertical, and then we started going creeping up. We got a real high flying shot up, and then it got slammed down. That tells me, look at this negative volume. That tells me that this is where big players wanted to sell, was at about $20, and they did. And now I'm expecting them to continue to sell at least to about 1550, maybe 1450 at least. I'm looking at this little gap right here. You're going to see a lot of lines all of a sudden. I'm looking at this. Actually, I'll do it with the measurement tool. I'm looking at this gap right here, this fair value gap right here to fill at least down to 1430. I'm looking at that. Okay, watching that very closely, that gap there. There's also the gap beneath that from here, from 1430 to all the way down to 1098. That is a huge fair value gap that we don't need to fill. But if there's any uncertainty out of FOMC or tariffs or what have you, or Bitcoin does a little dipperoo here next week, this is going to fill those gaps. And it's going to fill them hard, fast. I mean, we got other ones down here too, like all the way down here. We got another fair value gap on the weekly right here from $8 all the way down to 727. That's like worst case scenario. But I do expect at least that 1430 fair value gap to fill, maybe all the way down to 1097. That one as well. That's what I'm looking at there. Okay, just to keep those things in mind. Okay, so Iren. Anything else on Iren? I still don't have a weekly volume chart for this bad boy. Oh well, but the BX trend is still looking pretty good. Okay. The MACD is slowing down. It could cross down, and then we'd see that dip. I just don't like this candle. It looks very reminiscent of every other peak back here, where we like crept up and then fell down, crept up and then fell down, crept up and then fell down. We're creeping up. Now it's time for the fall down, in my opinion. This may or may not happen. Of course, do your own research, come to your own conclusions, be responsible for your own risk. I'm just some guy on YouTube. I don't really know. Nobody knows, and nobody can say for certain, but I am expecting at least a return here. Let me see, to this like channel right around here, like something like this, like here and like this. I'm expecting like a retest of this channel down here from above, and then boom, take off. So probably this white line right here. Now we did lose this line. We came up, we tested it from below too. So we broke this. Look at this. This was line angle 3, right? So we had angle 1, angle 2, angle 3. This was angle 3. We came beneath it, tested it from beneath, and failed. Meaning we could come down to this line here next, which would be 1310. Next week, the week after, 1358. It's very possible. It's very, very possible we could do that. So I'm watching that. I took out a short position on Iren for that reason. And if I'm wrong, I'll sell it quick and for a loss. And if I'm right, I'll hold it till it fills this gap around 1430, and then I'll be very, very serious. I might even cut it at 1550 because this is a wild market. It's a bucking bull of a market. It's a kangaroo up and down all around kind of market, and I am not looking to get wrecked in any way right now. Okay, let's go look at Mara. How's Mara doing? Mara is disgusting. This is an evening star pattern right here. So Mara is probably going to come down to the bottom of this channel here around 1532. It's just that's likely going to happen. Look what it did. It came to the highest point of this volume spike right here, tried to wick above it to get you all excited, and then wiped you all down out to the downside. That's what it did. It wiped everyone out. It hurt the greatest amount of participants. It did a little fake out breakout and then was like, oops, evening star. So this thing is going to likely come down further. I'm thinking, yeah, around 16 bucks, maybe even as low as 15.15 here in the coming weeks. All right, so I'm watching that very carefully. If I look here, we came also right up to the most traded zone, closed beneath it last week and this week. That sucks. It's got to get above $20. Mara really isn't on until it gets above $20. We came out of this falling wedge over here. You can see it, this white line. We came out of this falling wedge right here, did a little dip right there, bull flag, and then carry on. That was a great move. If you caught that, you did excellent. Now we're looking to protect this to the downside because things are getting frothy. They got frothy, and now we're just, we're dip or ruin. All right, so don't get too attached to this thing going up next week. I'm thinking we're probably going to see it come down. We're right in that period of time where the global liquidity on Bitcoin says that it is likely time to come down. If we look on the MACD, we're about to connect and cross down to the downside on the MACD for the week. BX Trender got a lower high on that. So selling pressure, buying pressure is weakening. Selling pressure is entering the chat here. So paying very close attention. I think this week's going to suck. Overall though, again, the fib clouds, when was the last time we touched the fib clouds in Mara? 2021 was the last time we touched the fib clouds. So I do expect at some point we will come up to about 36 bucks on Mara, but I wouldn't be surprised if we revisited 12 first, or at least 15 first. Okay. That's my opinion on Mara. Let's take a look at Btdigital. Btdigital is a bit of a different beast these days, different beastie. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. So it's all related to Ethereum. They got this big pump. I got 100% on that. It was beautiful. Then we got this wicked sell here. Now, the volume wasn't as high as on these other ones, so I'm not too concerned about this. I wouldn't be surprised to see it come back down to about 275 here, about 275, and then start breaking up again. If we look on the weekly MACD, you can see it's fine. It could just take a break here and carry on. The BX Trender is not looking so hot though. It's created a lower high. So last time we got that, we had a pretty significant drop before continuation. We dropped about 30% before continuation. How far have we dropped now from the top? 30%. So we might actually just go on to continuation. Well, pay attention. This is going to be highly, highly connected to Ethereum now, since they don't have any more Bitcoin. And they're not really, oops, sorry, I touched the microphone. Since they're not connected to Bitcoin like at all anymore. It's all AI and Ethereum now. So, I mean, who knows? I would like to see this thing hit 750 or so, but I really don't think it's going to do that anymore. I'm thinking we might revisit this high up here at about 576 this year, maybe peak up to $6, $6.20, but I don't see it going much higher than that. So we might have a double up left in this thing from here, but I am looking for it to come back down, at least fill this gap, at least 294. I want to see at least fill that gap first before carrying back on ahead. In fact, I'm going to delete this line too, because this line doesn't matter anymore either. There we go. What are these ones? I'm going to delete these ones too, because I don't care about those. Okay, yeah, that's what I'm looking at for that. Also, we came up, touched the top Bollinger Bands. The white ones are the Bollinger Bands. We came and touched the top of the white Bollinger Bands. In fact, I'm going to fix this real quick. I don't care for that plot right now. There we go. I just want the Bollinger Bands. We came up, touched the Bollinger Bands, re-entered the area beneath them. Last time we touched the Bollinger Bands, we came real far down afterwards. Every time we've touched the top Bollinger Bands, we had a significant drop on Btdigital. So don't be surprised if we come even lower, like revisit $2. I'm not saying that's going to happen right now, but I'm saying at least 294. I'm looking for 276, and it could go lower. All right. So pay attention to that. Did CleanSpark touch the top Bollinger Bands? No, got close. What about Iren? Iren surprisingly touched it once, not a second time though. So that's interesting. What about Mara? Mara didn't touch it, but it failed anyways. Okay, let's move on to Riot. Riot is the only one showing significant strength right now. That pisses me off because I don't really like Riot, but it's not about what we like. It's about what's happening. Let me fix that second angle there for the weekly. Yeah, Riot showing strength. Look at this. Big buying pressure came in last week. Big buying pressure. Riot might continue. Riot has always been a laggard, and it could see a continued push up and then roll over at some point. But MACD is still pointing straight up on the weekly. BX Trender is still looking good. RSI is barely getting into overbought territory on the weekly. Barely. And it is showing strength. It is showing strength, and it has not touched the upper Bollinger Band. If it was going to touch the upper Bollinger Band, it's got to go to $17. Also, we closed the weekly candle, opened and closed it completely outside of this descending channel. Riot is showing strength. And until it breaks this white line right here, which is angle 2, until it breaks angle 2, it will continue to be strong. Now, it could break it next week. It absolutely could. And we could see it become that evening star pattern, just like on Morrow, where it comes down to here, down to like $14 next week, and then just goes further down the week after. But right now, it is showing strength, and we will look for continued strength on Riot going into next week as well. We're above the big volume hump on Riot. Riot is basically free and clear. Look at this. We're above these. This weekly over here, we closed above these two big white candles, which are negative volume candles, big negative volume candles. We closed above those. The next one, all we got to do is, Riot needs to do is get above this one over here, which it hasn't conquered since 2024, March, 1489, and then it's got room all the way to 1745 to the next big volume candle. Okay, 1489, boom, blast off. Watch that level, 1489. In fact, I'm gonna put, not this, I'm gonna put, actually that's the previous high. I'll leave that. I'll take this one. 1489. We're going to put an alert on this guy. And we're just going to go launch. Mine. I spelled that wrong. Launch. All right. So look at Cifr. How's Cifr doing? Cifr is also showing significant strength here. Look at it. We're going up, 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 up. Notice how this chart right here looks exactly like Iren. Let's add Iren on here. Can I not do... Can I not do candles? Is it only lines? Yes. Okay, I'm getting rid of it then because it's all percentages and they did more percentages. All right, so burn this into your brain right here. Okay, let's go over to Iren. Oh, look at that. Exact same chart. So Cifr, if it's going to follow that same pattern, Cifr could have that big blow off wick next week that takes it up to 773, maybe even up to 853. Pay attention to that. As long as Cifr is above 616, Cifr has room to about 850. Cifr could continue to go. And that MACD is pointing straight up. That BX trend is looking good. The RSI over here, this is also looking very good. Yeah, we could go up to 875 on Cifr. No problem. No problem at all. But if it closes under, if it gets under 616, 607, then we can start falling. And it could fall as far as $4. So pay attention. But I think Cifr might have that one more week of like, whoop, and then fall. In for it, assuming there's no negative catalyst, assuming Bitcoin does not crash over the weekend. Okay, Cifr is looking good. I like it. I don't hate it at all. And it's holding above this line right here. It's in this channel again. It's inside the channel again. So yeah, it could go to the top of the channel, which would be about that 866, 870. So Cifr is looking nice for a potential move next week. I'll be looking for that. And if you're in Stalagmite, stay alert for those. I'm gonna have to actually put an alert on this right now. Let me go down to like an hourly chart. I want to see, is there any big negative volume in here? It's not big enough. All right, so let's just say I want to get above this peak right here. This is going to be my alert for Cifr to pay attention at 657. I'll come in here and I'm going to just go continuation. And that's that. All right, let's go back to the weekly. I'll put that at 657, by the way. And I'd be looking for that move up to about $2. All right, warrants, Cifr warrants. We get that move on the Cifr warrants. All right, the Cifr warrants are going to go up to like 255. They're going to go up $1. Basically, they're going to go up $1, maybe even to $3 if we get that move on Cifr. So yeah, pay attention to that. That's going to be really good. If we go anywhere below 134 on the warrants on Cifr, it's going to dump all the way back down to this line of 71 cents. Okay, so pay attention. And this would be an area where I'd be interested in loading on the warrants for the end of the year. Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. What about Corz? How's Corz? I am in calls on Corz. If you're in Stalagmite, you know that, and you're there with me. We are actually positive on those right now, so we're feeling pretty good because as soon as it hit this line, I started buying, and it started going up, and that was pretty excellent. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that after this big drop, and then this big drop, boom. I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so this chart, no weekly volume profile, so we'll have to go lower for the volume profile. I am looking for a move up to 1648 on this bad boy. Now, it has been getting weaker buying pressure for 3 weeks now, and we've crossed down on the MACD for 3 weeks now. But it's been going largely sideways those 3 weeks. Largely sideways, inside bars. We got 2 inside bars. As soon as this thing crosses above 1475, it's going to launch up to fill that gap and probably goes high 1666, maybe higher, but that's like as high as I expect it to go, and maybe going higher, but who knows? We'll see. That's really all I got to say about Corz. Let's go down to a 3-day to see a volume profile. Can I get my volume profile to load, please? That'd be ideal. Please. Please. No. How about a 2-day? No? Really? Still? Okay, 1 day. Still. Oh, there it is. Ah, yes. Yeah, Corz, it's just got to peak above $14. It's got to close above $14 on a 1 day, and then we can launch up to like 16, maybe even to that 1666 that I want to see. Okay, there you go. I like that. But if we close beneath this 1365, yeah, then it could just fall. So I'll be watching that closely. I'll be looking to cut it quickly if it doesn't want to cooperate with me. All right. Same thing with the warrants here. If we get that blast off, the warrants are going to come up to like $10, maybe $13, and if it falls, they're going to come down to at least 526, maybe as low as 257. All right, Hut, how's Hut doing? Hut, I don't hate, don't love. Don't hate, don't love. It's not great, but it's not bad because we're in this channel. We're in this channel right here. We're in a channel, and the channel's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Right, it's not the worst channel I've ever seen. Like right there to there, yeah, we're in this nice little channel. Could come down to the bottom of that channel at about 1786. It could wick down into like 1727 next week. But so this line broke. So notice how it came below it, tested it from below, and then failed, just like we were looking at Omara. Exactly the same thing. That's a technical move right there. That's a continuation pattern. We come down, test it from below, and then carry on. That's the kind of thing we like to see. Now we might come back down to this line down here, which would be, next week, the intersection of this trend line, this red trend line, and this white trend line, which would be at 1687. We could go that far down potentially if we're going to do that full like technical retest and then carry on. All right. So Hut is looking a little weaker, not the worst, but we do have this volume. All the drawings are going to come back. We do have this volume spike down here at between 1750 and 1536 that we are now solidly below this shelf up here. And that goes all the way down to at least 1774 before that volume starts acting as a shelf to hold us. Now, let's take a look here. The RSI is coming down. The BX trender is showing weaker buying pressure. The MACD on the weekly has crossed to the downside. So I would not be surprised to see a continued move, at least somewhat sideways. Like this is the best case scenario right now. I'm thinking like kind of like sideways, hit it right here about 1929 and then go up. Worst case scenario, straight down to 1683 and then a bounce up in the coming weeks or months. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. But if we stay in this channel, it could move up to in the future, 2144 or higher, depending on how things are working out. This is a very constructive chart right now. If we look at this is a very healthy move, like up, retest, up, retest, up, retest. This is very healthy, choppy, up and down, driving higher kind of chart. And this is exactly the type of chart I praised with Cifr in the past when Cifr was doing this back here. Just that choppy up and down, up and down. You could predictably buy it at the bottom of the channel, sell it at the top of the channel. And then it all broke down with the tariffs. And now we're getting back to that point where I'm looking at Cifr to continue that same little just chug up till the end of the year. Okay. Hut looks like it wants to try to do something similar here right now as well. Okay, let's look at Wulf. How's Wulf doing? Wulf is not too different from Hut in that respect. So if we come here, we got a channel. We're in a channel. Now we've been in this channel pretty solidly for a while, up and down, up and down, up and down. We are seeing a MACD cross to the downside right here. Yeah, well, it crossed, but it's pointing straight up. So that's not really the most negative thing I've ever seen. Buying pressure is still there. RSI is still grinding higher from there, and it could go a bit higher before getting into overbought territory. So right now we got a doji. These are all inside bar candles. If we get a candle that closes above 526, Wulf is going to explode. If we get a candle that closes above that and then opens the next one above it and stays above it, this thing's going to explode up probably up to 872, maybe. Well, it might hit 643, pause out, and then 872, we'll see. But if that doesn't happen, I'm looking for a retest down here at 424. But if we get that close above 527, boom, I'm looking for it to go up big time. Let's move on to Hive. Hive, do I still have those calls on Hive? I can't remember. Let me look real quick if I still have those calls on Hive. Let me see. Let me get into the right account for that. I've got a couple of accounts that I'm managing, so like I've got to make sure I'm looking at the right one. Oh, no, not there. Do I still have them? Looks like no. Looks like I don't still have them. Sometimes I set sell orders and I don't notice them immediately, which I need to work on that because sometimes I'm like, where did it go? Yeah, closed those out yesterday for a small profit. Okay. So yeah, those got closed out yesterday for a small profit, largely because I didn't like this candle that came in, this big inverted hammer at the top. Now these are like, it keeps trying to get above this candle because once it gets above this candle at 231, it's going to explode up to almost $3. Okay, that's going to happen. Let me get rid of that. But it's being beaten down, and we got wicks, 4 candles consistently of wicked wicks on top. All right, I don't like that. Don't like it at all. So I'm feeling like Hive is going to slump for a bit. Like this could cross down. Like this is still pointing straight up. So I could be wrong, and I could have to get back into those. But I close at a profit. I can buy it slightly more expensive, and when we do get that closure up, it's going to come up to $3 pretty fast. It might even blow past that and go up to like 486 real fast. Okay, we are seeing a channel forming, which I like. I like the channel right here, this channel right there. I see this channel forming. We hit the top of it a bunch of times. It probably, and we stop at the middle. So if we cross the middle, we're going to come to the bottom, which is at 182. And I wouldn't be surprised to see that right now. I'm actually going to delete that line. I wouldn't be surprised to see that right now, especially since we're trying to cross below this line right there. So this is looking like it wants to come to the bottom of the channel, potentially 180, 182, and then down there I'd be recommitted and looking for that move up to like 4 something on Hive. What about Btdr? How's Btdr doing? I think I still have calls on Btdr too, or did I sell those out of an abundance of caution? I might have. I cannot remember. I do not think I have the Btdr any longer. I think I closed out of those as well. Let me just make sure. Oh man, where did I keep those? Too many accounts. I'm still in Corz, still have some of my bit farms. I sold half of my bit farms position as well, just out of an abundance of caution. Again, because next week is going to be pretty intense, I think. Yeah, I sold out of my Btdr. I took a 20% profit on those as well because we came out of this channel when we went up. So I sold out of my Btdr as well with the expectation of Bitcoin showing some weakness. Okay, and if it doesn't show that weakness, well then I'll be getting back in at a slightly higher price. Now the MACD is still kind of like faintly holding up here. On the weekly, the buying pressure is continuing for the week. I like that. The RSI is not oversold or anything right now, but the whole thing was Bitcoin was showing some weakness. We're coming into that global liquidity period where it showed that global liquidity was going to be lowering for a few days or weeks. So that is why I got out of some of these positions. Plus, we're going right into an FOMC week. We're going right into the tariffs resuming week. And I know tariffs don't have an impact on Bitcoin, but when the whole market falls, everything falls. So I wanted to lock in those gains, and if I have to buy in at a higher price, I'll buy in at a higher price. I'm not going to allow my gains to evaporate just because I'm thinking that, oh, it might, it shouldn't be over yet. Just because it shouldn't be over yet doesn't mean that it's not going to be over yet. Is my opinion here and the way I'm looking at it. Now, if Btdr closes anywhere above like 1508, yeah, I'm looking for a move up to $19, and I'm going to recommit like right away. And if you're in Stalagmite, you will get those alerts as soon as I do it. We are in crunch time. Things are getting frothy. Things are getting tough. They're getting tougher every day right now. We're entering into one of the hardest periods right now where they're going to try to shake us out. They're going to try to scare us. They're going to try to move us all around, make us like lose all of our money, even in positions that like should be gaining money. We're going to be losing money until we can't take it anymore. Like we're getting into those kinds of periods right now with August and September coming in to the mix. Let's take a look at Soluna. Soluna is, I did buy into some Soluna. I think I sold it, or did I continue to hold my Soluna? I bought into Soluna again here at these lows because it started getting pops. I'm still holding those Soluna because I'm still up like 2% on it, which is kind of embarrassing. Percent. But Soluna, it already did its sell-off. It keeps coming down here. Like this 41 cent seems to be an area it's willing and able to hold. So I bought in a bunch there, and I might buy a little bit more there for a move up to like $2-3. So I'm looking at this bad boy here for that launch period near the end of the year. Again, I know it's a gambly position. It's very gambly, but I did it. Bitfarms, how's Bitfarms? So I don't hate Bitfarms. It closed the week above this, so that's why I held half the position, but I sold the other half because I just don't want to get burned right now. I'm just trying to preserve capital right now. That's all I'm doing, just capital preservation. Now, all the technicals are pointing towards Bitfarms going up. If Bitcoin does not continue to go up next week, then that will not come to pass. But Bitfarms, all the technicals, the MACD, the BX trender, the RSI, they're all pointing towards it wanting to go to that 171 level and wanting to do it quickly, which is why I held on to half that position. But again, risk management, that's why I cut half. We're not going to do CAN. BMNR. So this one I'm watching very closely. What in the heck? All right, I'm watching this very closely right now. Tom Lee is now associated with this. They are doing an Ethereum treasury on this bad boy. It is still doing inside candles here. It did inside a candle, inside another candle, but we closed beneath this one. So I am looking for this thing to maybe dip a little bit further because I think Ethereum's probably going to continue to dip. But I am looking around that $21 price, maybe even $22 price point. Yeah, right around here. I'm looking to right around here. I'm going to put an alert. I'm looking to buy this thing around here. Okay. I'm looking to buy it around that 22.49, 22.50 level. In fact, I might just pop that up to about 22.55, just to have a little buffer there. Especially since we closed the week out beneath this big negative candle here, that is showing me that there might be continuation to the downside, potentially coming down to fill this gap down here, because there is a huge gap right here between $38 and $22.06. There's a huge fair value gap there that we are starting to enter now. So I would be looking for that to potentially do that. Now, if we close above 45.12, before that, I'm looking for a move back up to about $100. So I'm not going to sleep on this one. It's going to move fast. Anyways, I think that's all of the miners here. I'm sorry, this was a bit of a long video. And you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do can. I'm going to do can. Can you do it? No, can cannot. But can had a negative, nasty week last week, but buying pressure is still coming through. The RSI, it looks like it's still kind of going up. If it bounces off the signal line there, boom, we could see it go higher. MACD is still pointing straight up. Can might be something to look at here. This formed a base. I really want to see it close a candle above 92 cents, though. I'm not interested till it's above 92 cents. Above 92 cents, it could go up to $2. Maybe come down and hit here. Yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be interested at 92 cents. And I'd be looking at, so for the ultimate move, like I do expect, you know, I would probably be cutting at 2, but for the ultimate move, we go to the top candle of the move, which is this one right here, right? The lowest tick of that top candle is about 243. That's an area where I'd be looking for some significant moves up. Now, right here, the other thing, the lowest move of this candle, this little move right here, the highest tick of this lowest candle right here is about 72 cents. If we hit 72 cents on can, that is a buy area in terms of going from 72 cents all the way up to 243. I'd be looking for that, honestly. So mark that on your charts. 72 cents. In fact, I think I have a thing right here already. What is this dotted line right here? What is this? What are you? I'm gonna go ahead. Hey, what is that? Oh, that's I'm stupid. that's from the candle. It's just not. It's just white because the candle's white. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a little dumb. All right. Here we go. We'll go right there. Boom. Right on the top of that thing there. I'm gonna put this as a buy, and I might take a small position there. Not nigh. Buy. All right. That's what we're doing. And then 243, that's where I'd take profit. So I'm gonna go ahead and that's where I'd want to take profit. Like that's like the ultimate, like, wow, that was a wicked trade, take profit zone. I'd actually probably be doing it at about 198, to be honest. So we're gonna go ahead and put right in here, and we're gonna go right there, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna say TP1, because that's where I'd probably cut at least half my position, maybe 2/3 of it. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share this video. All those things do so much for the channel so that we can grow and have even more and better information for you guys. Because the memberships are a great way to support the channel alongside sharing and liking all the videos. And with that said, have a profitable day.